Okay, what is going on, Dance Mom? It's Brooke. I haven't vlogged on this in a really long time, and I found a really pressing subject that I wanted to vlog about, and that is fanfiction. Fanfiction is something that's really special, and you can't really go anywhere on the internet without seeing some of it. So you might wonder, where do you find well-written fanfiction that doesn't involve gay sex, or jowls, or milk or knives, which seem to be in all the ones that I find. And the answer is right in your hoot owl backyard with my personal favorite hoot owl of all time ever, keri-lu. Lily Low by 13 is where you can find a truly stunning fanfic, and I'm not sure, it doesn't have a title. The title's read more, but it's about the Jonas Brothers, so I'm gonna read it to you right now. Okay, with some dramatic music in the background to improve it. It was a rainy evening in New York City. You know what? Rainy evening, you know what song that calls for? That song called that little sentence right there, it calls for this song. My personal favorite song of all time. Gotta set the mood. Okay. It was a rainy evening in New York City. There was something about the glow of the city lights on the wet pavement that had a calming effect. The bustling city was loud and crowded, which Nick loved. "What are you smiling about?" his 14-year-old sister asked as she looked up at him. "I'm just smiling. Am I now allowed to smile?" She shrugged. "No, you are. I just never see you smile like this unless we're in New York. There's something about New York that makes me smile." Of course there is. The quietest, most reserved Jonas brother loved the loudest, most crowded city. Cool beings. He rolled his eyes and put his arm around her shoulder, bringing her close to him as they walked. "The city sparkles in the night. How can it glow so bright?" he began to sing randomly. "The neighborhood surrounds a soft fluorescent light," his sister continued. "Design and skyline in my head, abstract and still well read." He went from numbered lines to buildings overhead. They both started laughing quietly to themselves as they reached the crosswalk. They waited until a red hand on the sign turned into a green stick figure. keri-lu skipped ahead of Nick, smiling ahead at the rain. "The one thing I love about New York City is when it rains. It will rain" by Bruno Mars. "It's very nice." "I enjoy it too," he chuckled and stepped forward. Suddenly, everything turned into slow motion. Nick watched as his smiling little sister glanced to her right with a shocked expression. He couldn't move fast enough to her. The drunk driver has already gotten to her first. XXXXXXXXX. "Where is she? I need to see her." Nick tried to push past the doctors and nurses, but they stood their ground. "You need to wait out here, son," says the doctor. "Let us work." "I, need, His voice trailed off as a wave of sickness washed over him. A nurse just sat him down in a chair and walked away, keeping an eye on him. Right then the door bursted open, and the rest of the Jonas family trembled inside. Denise made her way to Nick and hugged him tightly. "Please tell me she's okay," she cried into his neck. Nick pulled away from his mother and stared into her eyes. "They won't let me back." Denise began to sob as she clinged onto Paul, crying into his chest. Joe walked up to Nick and put his head on his brother's shoulder. "You alright, man?" Nick shrugged and shook his head. "No." Joe hugged Nick and sat next to his sobbing mother. Nick began to pace the floor up and down, back and forth. Everything was going by so slowly. Every so often, Nick would look at the clock, and it felt as if for every 10 minutes the clock would tick 1 minute. "Code blue!" the doctor screamed into her room. "She's crashing!" Instantly, a team of doctors ran into the room down the hall. Denise began sobbing harder because she knew it was her daughter's room. After the yelling stopped, the entire hospital became silent. The team of doctors left the room, taking deep breaths and patting each other on the back. "Good job," one said to the other. Everyone could finally breathe again. A doctor who was just leaving keri-lu's room began walking toward us. "Are you the Jonas family?" he asked. No one could say anything. We all just nodded cautiously. keri-lu just went into cardiac arrest, but we got her just in time. Denise let out a sigh of relief. "When can we see her?" Kevin asked, standing up. The doctor looked down at his feet and then looked back at Kevin, one at a time. Nick quickly jerked his head around and stared at his mother dead in the eye. She knew what he wanted, so calmed down enough to nod at him, and Nick followed the doctor into keri-lu's hospital room. They entered the room, and Nick's heart sank. His little sister, his baby sister, was lying unconscious in the hospital bed. There were wires and tubes and IVs just connected everywhere off of her. The heart monitor beeps slowly and steadily, which calmed Nick's stomach just a bit. Do you know when she'll wake up? He was finally able to choke out right before the doctor left. I'm unsure at the moment, but within the next hour or so, I will be able to determine when. Nick nodded and stepped around to keri-lu side. Her skin was so pale, so lifeless. Hey there, Lulu, Nick whispered, brushing the back of his fingers against her bruised cheekbone. Hey. And the end. That was beautiful, and I hope you enjoyed it.